Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Sitting in the hot seat with me tonight, my guest, finally getting her back on the show. She, sometimes I wonder because I follow her on Facebook. She's doing like Mach 10 with her hair on fire, 27 hours a day. She runs multiple groups. And we had a little slice of time here where the schedule's finally lined up. Her name's Lauren Curtis. And she's one of my favorite artists. I can honestly say that. That's what really turned us on about her the last time. And she's a super interesting person. So welcome to the show, Lauren. How are you?
Oh, thanks for that awesome intro. I hope I can live up to that. Thanks for having me back.
No problem. So the latest thing that I saw pop up, because we're Facebook friends, obviously.
Yep.
So the latest thing, and that's why I'm like, I just see you just ripping through stuff. And I'm like, gee, Mani. Makes me feel guilty, believe it or not. But it's a Certificate of Excellence in Children's Literature, The Adventures of Mimi and Lulu, The Fallen Star, and the River Mystery. You did, this is an award that was just given out, and you did the illustration for this, correct?
Correct, yep. The author is Haiti Romano, and she wrote the story based on, I believe it's based on her daughter, and it's really cool because not only is it a great book for kids and it's about dreaming, but it's also about protecting the environment. So it's a really cool message. And, it's for younger kids, but it gives that really awesome message. And I'll be working with her again, doing a cover for another book, I believe. But, this book, she had entered it into a children's book literature competition, and we won the Honorable Mention Certificate of Excellence Award. So that was a cool surprise.
It's good to have that professional validation when you do this kind of stuff, right? I mean, it's always nice to have that, to see that, hey, I'm even though it feels like sometimes I think when we do this kind of stuff, we're doing it almost in obscurity a lot, right? That's
right.
That's kind of the plight of the artist. So, but this is really cool stuff because now this is also leading to there's going to be a follow-up book to this now that you're also going to be working on, correct? Is that what you were saying?
I don't know about a follow-up, but she actually has another book that she had already written. I don't think it's related to this one, but she wants me to probably do the cover for this other one, and then she might do others down the road as well. So
that's really cool. So, well, congratulations on that, and I want to make sure I mention that again. So tell us what the name of the book is and the author. So it's a children's book, right? So people can look this up.
Yep, it's a children's book. It's only like $10 on Amazon. The author is Heidi Romero, Hayde is how you spell her first name. Adventures of Mimi and Lulu, Fallen Star, and the River Mystery, because it's two like little stories in one.
Well, that's really cool. So, okay, so you're working your tail off here a lot lately, girlfriend. So, so in addition to doing that, now that's one of the things we really hit on the last time you were on the show. We talked a lot about specifically your type of art. And then we also talked a lot about being a working artist, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's one of the things I really, you really had a real good, solid message about being a working artist, and that it's work, and that you really got to hustle, and that's evidenced obviously by all the different things you constantly have going on. But take me through. I mean, because the steampunk group that you created has been going like mad lately here as well, right? I mean, that's really growing good.
Yeah, Friends of Steampunk Landing. It's, basically anything that's steampunk, Victorian, Gothic, type of cultural related. So there's a lot of artists, jewelry makers, authors, musicians, performers, any related posts are welcome. People are welcome to join, as long as it's in that realm. And the other like real big thing I've been doing actually that, I wanted to focus on is I've been giving art lessons and also creative marketing lessons for other artists. So that's become, a big part of my career now. That's been very awesome to do. So
Yeah, I try to make sure we promote those for you when those come out. That's another thing I wanted to definitely hit on was the art lessons that you're doing. Now, this is a regional thing. However, did we talk about, or were you talking about, or thinking about the possibility of being able to also do these things remotely with people as well, so that they could get
Yeah, with Skype. I'm set up Skype, and I have a couple of long distance students right now from various states, and then people that are local to me in Jersey. We do in person lessons.
Right.
So it's good to be able to offer both of those options. And aside from Skype, there's also phone and email that's used as well. So I can, we can send files back and forth. Some people use Dropbox or things like that.
Uh-huh.
So they can put a bunch of files at once. It's working out really well, and some really talented people that I've been teaching so far.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing now, because technically speaking, even though, so you're in New Jersey, but you can have students pretty much anywhere all over the world, really, as long as you can get the schedules to line up, right? That's the only limiting factor. So,
the farthest away I've taught is somebody in London, and then currently I have people in I think 3 different states right now, and then the rest are Jersey based. Right.
This is a real interesting time to be alive, isn't it? I mean, thinking about your ability to do that and to have a market base that's basically worldwide is kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of also ask you about one of the things, and I'm hoping that you can kind of answer this because this whole movement now into this. Steampunk's a big wide paintbrush, right? But there's portions of it that I'm noticing there seems to be layers, like there probably is with pretty much any genre.
Right.
However, what is the motivating factor, you think, behind this sort of throw towards this? Because this is getting to be a big deal, this Victorian feel type stuff. It's very rustic, but still functional. Like, what is this just a sign of the times where, what was considered modern, a century ago, all of a sudden becomes, I don't know what you would call it, like an analogy of the past or something like that. But how does this kind of fit together, do you think? What is it in our psyche, or what is it in the people that enjoy this that sort of connects them together that way?
For me, I don't think, I don't know if there's any one answer. I'm certainly not the biggest expert on it, but for me, it's kind of like, a longing for simpler, more, artistic time, like where, when things were crafted by hand and, they weren't so bogged down with, so much technology. So it's kind of almost, to me, like a reaction to that. And then there's just a big draw of anything fantastical and,
well, what does a person do today? That kind of hits on some really fundamental things, what you're saying, right? Because what I hear you saying is things like craftsmanship and elegance. And, so walk out into the world and find that for me. Like, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, God, sorry.
No, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm going, oh, wait a minute. This is so what you're kind of getting at is this is the result of an absence of these things otherwise. So it's not that people still don't desire these things, but where do you see that in our regular world today? It's not present. It's not even present in our entertainment really anymore, is it? Like, there's no big production type Cecil B. DeMille type films anymore either, where you see that elegance and all of this. But yeah, I think you're right. I can see that this is a reaction more than anything else kind of situation.
Yeah, to me, I think that's why it's taken off. Things go in cycles with fashion. Like, it seems like every, what is it, 30, 40 years, like a fashion cycle reoccurs. So, kind of now there's this big kickback to like the 80s,
right.
So there's kind of like these cycles. So, steampunk kind of kicks back to, the Gothic movement. There's a huge overlap there. But yeah, also just like everything is so sleek and streamlined and tried to, design-wise to be made so like simplistic and, futuristic. So this is kind of like a response to people like me that, kind of always had a connection with history and antiques and things that are vintage.
Right.
So yet it also is encompassing the science fiction aspect because it is fantastical. It is making new unseen forms of technology, but only using the technology as if it only went up to the 1900s, like early 19, like the turn of the century, like 1900, late 1800s,
Right.
mid 1800s. So it's kind of a combination of science fiction and fantasy,
Right.
old and new, artistic and scientific, so it kind of bridges a lot of things for people, I think.
My daughter made me, because as an engineer, I have a notebook with me all the flipping time, right? So, but she made me a notebook, and she made the cover of it, put the name of my company at the time, and put.
Oh,
and
nice.
it's really really neat. And I took it with me. I take it with me on jobs, but so this is kind of interesting. So I have this piece of steampunk sort of artwork like thing, okay, that I take out into the world with me all the time, and I take it around and I show it to people because they see it because I take notes in it. And I have yet to meet a person that goes, "That's ugly." Not yet at all. The worst that's ever been, no one has, I should say this, it's never gone unnoticed, and it has never once received a bad or like, what the hell's that kind of response. So I've not yet met a person. What I do meet a lot of people, like, oh, it's like a steampunk thing. And they go, what is that? Because I'm working with engineers. When they see this, they're like, that is really cool. So, so my point is as an art form, I've never met anybody that didn't at least find it at least interesting. Right.
Absolutely.
I found people didn't know what it was, but still find it interesting. But yeah, so it's really interesting to me in that respect because it seems to be so widely acceptable as an art form to people. There's not a lot of art forms that are like that.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does overlap just a lot of different things. Like, I mean, it encompasses art, music, performance, craft, fashion, movie, so, I mean, there's a lot of movies now that are out that are very steampunk influenced, so it's kind of making a resurgence in a lot of areas. Actually, at the Morris Museum in New Jersey, this is like I forgot what year it is. It's probably at least the third or fourth annual kinetic steampunk art show in like this major museum in New Jersey with these, artists from all over the world that are doing this phenomenal, moving,
like functioning art pieces.
And it's become like, a huge show there. It's been on like local TV, so you see this movement happening all over. So it's pretty interesting.
Now, this is something that was definitely around because I think you can see the roots of this in like the old illustrated magazines, like Heavy Metal, for instance. No pun intended, but it's all in there, and we've seen this sort of. It does have like different. You see its roots in different genres, like video games and different things like this, but. Really, it's culminating, it seems like, in the last 10 years where it's really broken out as its own sort of thing, and it's remarkably distinctive, however, tremendously diverse at the same time. And it's wild that you can pull that off. How do you, how does that happen?
I mean, there's so many forms because there's, the steampunk, cyberpunk, and, the goth steampunk. So there's a lot of different variations of it, too. So they do cross over a lot into, sci-fi and different fantasy realms as well. So, it does have a broad appeal. I mean, you can see influences of it in so many areas, even down to, movies like Star Wars. Like you could pick up these kind of elements that, are present in so many movies. And then there was that, what was that recent? I just saw it actually, and it was very steampunk oriented, a movie that was just out. It was like, big CGI
Where the cities were all
blockbuster.
attacking each other. Is that the one because I thought that one was, there was a big one that came out where the London's at
Mortal Engines, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Mortal Engines. Yeah, I thought that one had I was like, wow, there it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's really becoming, prevalent, a prevalent theme. And that other one, what is it, the Victor Hugo story about the automaton that came out a few years ago too. That was, completely steampunk and based on, a story that influenced the steampunk movement. So, it's really starting to become very prevalent, showing up in fashion a lot, so, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to see its like evolution,
The other thing about it is that I think it's because us in the engineering world aren't necessarily known for being big, supporters of the arts kind of thing, right? Let's just be honest. But this is an art form that I'm finding resonates very well inside that community, and they love it. They really do. They really get a kick out of it. Once once I turn people on to it, and then they start sending me stuff. So it's like, wow, that person was impressed enough that not only with what I showed them, but then to subsequently go out and take their own sort of path and start figuring things and seeing what they liked. I mean, it interested them enough, right, to go out and sort of seek this and find their own journey through the art form. I know. I mean, I don't mean to geek out about it too much here because people are going to be like, really, it's okay, Matt. Take a chill pill or whatever. But
you'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I just look at it from because it was something that I was sort of more turned on. I mean, my daughter kind of introduced me to it a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Right. But it wasn't until we did that first interview and then when I went out and did the promotion for that, I subscribed to all these steampunk groups now, and now it's like my whole Facebook feed's populated with this, and I'm like, man, how did I miss? Because there's just some people doing really, really interesting, really and you look at this and man, if this isn't art, I don't know what is, because it's not like these things, these machines they build, like you go, okay, take pictures, it's pretty, now let's put it in the plant and make some money with it. But my God, the amount of time and effort and focus that it's taken for some of these people to put some of these things together that they do is just mind-numbing to me. It's like, man,
absolutely. And that's why it kind of does, especially the kinetic sculptures and construction pieces, that's all, math and engineering, because these things have to work.
Yeah, they actually function.
Moving parts, and it can't be done with anything that's too modern of a technology if you want to keep it super authentic, But yeah, a lot of people are using LED lights and, servos and all kinds of stuff to make things move, and then there's people using, clockwork and old-fashioned steam power. So, for people making that type of artwork, they're definitely mathematicians and engineers in a lot of ways, aside from just artists.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff, and it's so functional, a lot of it too. Like, I got friends now that have pieces of furniture in their house that are made by steampunk artists, and then they're selling these things. And they're amazing. They're really, really lamps and all kinds of interesting stuff. So, Lauren, once this podcast, man, once my ship comes in, that's going to be the podcast studio.
Start buying.
Yeah, my ship, my lottery ticket, whatever it's going to be. But anyway, okay. So let's talk about making sure that people. Well, before we make sure where people know how to find you. Last time we talked, you were just starting, I think, to do the online classes and this kind of stuff, right? So now that you've been doing that, I guess seems like for a while, what's the next, where do you see that going? Because that was something we really talked, I think, also heavily about, was how social media was impacting the arts and these kinds of things as well.
Right.
I mean, so you're a hustler, so you're in it. Where's it going next for you? Where do you see the next thing being, or are you even there yet?
Well, I definitely want to expand on the teaching because it's just a great way to make, more of a steady income, while also helping other people, be creative and get into the arts. So, and then it's just a more social aspect. I mean, a lot of the times as a, freelance artist, I'm just working by myself in my house,
Yep.
like you don't interact, face to face a lot of times. So by giving the art lessons, it's kind of a break from that. It's very social and it's a lot of fun. So, I definitely would like to expand my student base, both, Skype and, in person. And then I'm, continuing to exhibit. I'm taking a little light break from exhibiting over the summer. I mean, I have a couple shows, but nothing crazy.
Good.
But once the fall hits, I'll be doing some more shows again.
Yeah, but that was the other thing I've seen a lot of on your Facebook feed was all the exhibits that you and shows that you were doing. I mean, it's been you've been really. I'm going to venture a guess here, but I think I've seen at least 4, but it's probably closer to 6 or something like that, isn't it? So, I mean,
I'm usually in at least one show a month, with even just like
crazy.
one piece somewhere. So this summer, it's been like every other month, purposefully, because I have been focusing more on teaching, and I'm actually illustrating 2 other children's books and doing some other freelance work as well. So, but yeah, I mean, I do exhibit, regularly, whether it's, a group show, a solo, a 2-person, or like an art fair or festival. So I try and have something going on like that, at least every other month, or have some piece of my artwork out in a show, at almost all times, because some shows run a month, some could be 4 months, 5 months, so yeah, I am continuing to do that as well.
And that was another thing, right? I mean, this is just more evidence of, because I remember one of the other things that we talked about was that, and I think you mentioned that here earlier, was about the promotional piece and helping artists understand how to do that side of working as an artist, right? I mean, that's a big deal, and part of that is these shows and making sure that you're staying in front of people where you're discoverable. Because and I think a lot of people get this mixed up. They think that discovery is a one-time event that happens, and that's really not the way it works, is it?
Very rarely. I mean, that's the dream and the myth. Every artistic person wants that. Every band, every musician, every actor, every artist, they want that. Andy Warhol discovery moment where some super famous rich person in your field just stumbles upon you and makes you like a millionaire. That's that almost never happens. It's I'm sure it obviously does, but you certainly can't count on that happening. You have to. It's a job. It's a full-time job. You have to work hard at it.
Right.
And that's why I started giving the creative marketing lessons, because a lot of artists were seeing all the work I was doing, and that I am earning a living, from doing my work. And so they started approaching me like, "Oh, can you give me advice? Can you help me do this?" And I'm like, "Well, you know what? Like, I'm going to just start teaching people, because I don't have time to just sit there and give away free answers. Like, it's work, So it's like, if you want to learn how to do it, I'll be glad to, to help you do it. If you, hire me to basically be your coach in it." And I paid somebody when I was first starting it. I paid somebody to do that for me, because it's a job, it's a lot of work involved. And, they helped me a lot, in getting my career going. So now I could do the same for other people.
Well, and there's a big piece of that too, that when someone pulls your chain, so to speak, right, and says, "Hey, I've got questions." My first, you got to, because when you're busy, and time is valuable, right? And you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what kind of skin do you got in the game here, Scooter? Because I mean, how serious are you? And look, that doesn't necessarily always mean money per se, right? But what I want to know is am I wasting my time with you? That's really what I want to know. It's not. And it doesn't mean if I'm not getting paid for it that's what's happening either. But I get what you're saying. It's like you want to know how serious are you about this artist thing, or how serious are you about anything, right? So someone that's already out kind of getting it done doesn't really. They'd love to share their experience, but they want to make sure that they're not wasting their time in the process, right? That's like
exactly. Yeah, and it applies to, I teach different types of artists, but the creative marketing applies to pretty much any kind of creative business someone wants to start. It's whether it's, your music, I have people that are authors, I've worked with musicians, freelance artists, different types of crafters. So, the skill set is the same. So it's like if someone
Yep.
takes those kind of classes where they don't have to be a visual artist. They can be any type of creative small business person that wants to get off the ground. But,
yes. Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem, because especially, I have a lot of super creative friends that are, great artists themselves, and I have no problem giving them advice and tips, and I'm not going to sit there and charge them. But, if someone, wants to sit there and really pick my brain for extended periods of time and, make something of their career, then it's like, all right, well, then you got to hire me, because, I put the time and effort and money into learning it, so... now it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm going to take it just as seriously as I think you're taking it. There's kind of the response there. It's like, all right, let's see if you're for real. kind of thing. And,
like if you have a friend that's a doctor, they might toss you some free medical advice, but then you can't expect them to, give you full checkups and x-rays and everything. And okay, so you're not going to charge me, right?
Right. Well, and there's a lot to be said for that, because I see this a lot in anybody that builds anything, is that there's always those people that you're like, well, they're above the standard, they're above the average market price. Well, yeah, but what do they do? That's the, it's you buy value. And I've never understood this kind of, this mentality, especially like you said, but with musicians, well, come play our bar. No, we're not going to pay you, but it's free exposure.
Right, yeah.
It's like, whoa, what do you mean free exposure? What is this?
Oh yeah, the classic and visual artists get that all the time. You'll get exposure and don't do me any favors. That does exposure doesn't pay my rent. That's bull. So that's don't fall for the you'll get free exposure line. That's just a way for people to try and get free work out of you, pretty much, And
you do this. Anybody that wants to see what you do from a marketing standpoint, and I'm only seeing it obviously from the social media side, but you work this stuff. You got to be bold about it, and people have to understand that this is who you are. And if you're not comfortable with that, then go find something else to do, right? But if you are willing to be bold, man, there's a lot of stuff you can do. There really is. It's a big, bold, beautiful kind of new world out here in the internet world anyway. You have a worldwide reach, and nobody realizes, sitting on your desktop. Now, how do you leverage that? It's right there. Now figure out how to leverage it.
And it goes by super fast, so it's not there's people that'll just, take one or two classes, especially in marketing. It's that's not going to do it. This is a full-time thing. Marketing is nonstop. It's a huge part of your career if you want to make money. There's nothing wrong with people that are artists just for the sake of making art. They don't care if they sell anything or if they play in front of 2 people or 20 people, which is completely fine. I have total respect for that. But people that do want to make money and get booked shows and sell and, make connections and, work with galleries or cafes or anything, it's a full-time job. It's a lot of work. It's not just just tell me what I need to do and you're done. Right. And then you can just go off on your merry way.
Yeah, it's so true, right? It is. It's find me a company that you could go get a job for that doesn't have a marketing department.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Now you're creating yourself. I'm Me Incorporated. Now, what's your marketing department look like? How many relationships are you building? These are all fundamental, and it's wild.
And it's always changing. You always have to build new relationships. You always have to come up with a new strategy.
Got to connect to people in new ways.
New things to promote. So it doesn't stop. As long as you're in business, you're going to have to market.
Somehow, you got to stay connected. You definitely do. All right, so we're coming up here on our hard limit. So let's talk about how people can find you and reach out to you if they want to connect to these things that you're working with on the online art lessons and stuff like that.
My fine art website is, they're all under my name. So if you Google Lauren Curtis Art, LAURENCURTIS, and then ART, you should find my Facebook page and Instagram, and my website. So I always use Lauren Curtis Art, but my fine art site is laurencurtisart.weebly, WEEBLY.com. And on Facebook, it's Lauren Curtis Art Talon Art. And then Instagram, I think it's also just Lauren Curtis Art. So, and most of the time, if you see a picture of me with my crazy long nails, then you'll definitely know you found the right person.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about that this time. That's great, yeah.
I know, that's all right. There's enough of that.
Oh, well, yeah, well, that's what the level of your artistic abilities goes multiple layers. You're an interesting person to get to know. I mean, people should.
My creativity manifests like literally through my fingers.
Hey, I tell you what, I think I've got them all off of your Facebook page here. I'll make sure I put those links in the description for the podcast for you so that people can just click on them. And that'll be there. So when it shows up on YouTube and it shows up on all the podcast service sites, they'll be able to go just into the the description, and they should be able to click on that. So check out those links, folks. Lauren, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm glad we finally got around to making this happen. The next time
thank you.
The next time you're no longer on fire, shoot me a message and we'll figure out what we're going to talk about then too, because I'm sure it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to be back again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. That's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a rating on iTunes, etc. And if you would, give us a share. We'd really appreciate that. And we'll catch you all next time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bicycles. There we go. That's how we do a podcast.
Bye.